that for the rectory and the parishioners and other business that has to be attended to on a daily basis.
So they're leaving that up to you to
Yes,
take that into
they're hoping
consideration.
that we'll have proper signage and
Right.
proper manpower or whatever to effectuate that.
Now, Barbara, with regard to funerals, don't they, does not the church set up schedules on that? Meaning that if someone passes away and they have, for example, a holy day, and they're not able to accommodate it, they push it to the next day? I would presume,
yes,
okay?
right.
So that if any election day that is scheduled, that a funeral would be scheduled before or after.
I would think so. I don't know exactly the procedure for that with the church, but they definitely, I'm in touch with them all the time with our election schedules. Our normally set election, the May election, is already on their church calendar. Our town meetings, we correspond or we communicate, regularly. And of course, today I was in touch with the church secretary, to advise her of these new dates, which, of course, everybody knew, but we do discuss that. And so they are well aware of our commitments, the town's commitments in these areas, and they very much cooperate with us and work their schedule, their calendar around our events too. Sometimes some of the conflicts can be that they have to utilize the parish hall for meetings with the religious education program or other parental meetings that they need a big hall to do on the night before an election. So that means that our polling setup is just delayed until 8:30 or 9, whenever they finish their business. But it is available to us still at that time.
Now, just one more, Mr. Messeri.
Yeah.
With regard to the our effective date being immediate, does that mean that we have to implement it immediately, or we can implement it immediately? Meaning that if, because of the holy day, can we just do our normal plan and start in the May election, even though it says effective immediately, doesn't mean implement immediately?
I have to look at that motion again, but I think that's semantics, and I think that effective is effective. That would be my opinion. I think town council could issue a better opinion than me, but the motion was pretty clear in my eyes, and we have already moved all of the polling booths from the school and the town hall over to the church. They accommodate us to supply, to hold all of those. Not that Public Works can't take them from there and set them up someplace else, but I think the motion is pretty clear to my recollection that
Well, that we do it immediately, but not necessarily implement it immediately, because it was designed to be implemented on the May election, but it was
designed but not specified in the motion. The motion really, I'm pretty certain does have effective immediately.
right.
And
That this will take effect.
I think that again, you would have to make an adjustment to that motion, rescind it and issue a new motion if you want to make such a change, but I take that as a directive that this is going to start with the next election. That was a discussion that we had with the board that, I had said at that time, barring any special elections, this would take effect in May, but it was, I believe a clear discussion that, we would change that to say effective immediately, so if there were any special elections, they would start right away. I think that was an understanding at that time. And I do think the motion is pretty clear that way. I would have to look at it again, but my recollection.
Barbara, we've been voting 2 precincts at that location for some time now, and we've obviously run into different situations, probably including a funeral. How has that created? I know this is half the volume, but has it created any issues that you can recall?
I don't recall a conflict with a funeral as of yet. I truly don't. I think that the church does work around our calendar. We can't force them to, their building, but they are very cooperative with us in that end, and so I have not experienced any issues as far as funeral go to date.
No. Okay. Unless someone wants to rescind our decision, I think we'll just move ahead.
Well, I would,
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a majority, Joe. But go ahead.
well, no, I was gonna suggest that we put it on the next agenda to vote on, or it's not on this agenda to rescind it. And then if we.
Well, I think it's on the agenda, review central polling place parking plan.
Yeah, but
I mean,
it
I
doesn't
think
say
it's
anything
adequate
about
notice.
voting, though, no, it doesn't
It's
say to
adequate
vote on it.
notification.
I don't think that would cover it.
I'm gonna pull the board, okay, at this point.
Yeah.
Beyond Joe, is there anyone who has an issue with proceeding?
I do not.
So, I mean, you can propose a motion at our next meeting, I'll put it on the agenda if you wish, Joe, but I don't think
No,
there's
if
enough
nobody
votes
is
to
gonna,
change it.
if nobody's
Okay.
going to, support it.
Sergeant Romeo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One last question, Sergeant. In the back, in the far parking lot in the back, right, is that a lined parking lot? I've never noticed.
It is striped, but it's also a traveled way.
It's also travel,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Okay, next item is second reading of the town-owned land policy. We want to read it again, or? Okay. The change that's proposed is in 7.2.1 of, 7.0 is land, buildings and property, and 7.2 covers the sale of town-owned land. And the changes are being made to section D of paragraph 7.2.2, and that change reads as follows. The board, by a 4/5 vote, may sell it for less than its assessed value if deemed to be in the town's interest at the time.
Additionally, Mr. Chairman, the second word, targeted, is also a new addition. The targeted minimum, the word targeted.
Oh, yes, all right. The targeted minimum sale price of tax foreclosure property shall be its current assessed value. That's essentially the minimum sale. The way it read before was exactly the minimum sale price of tax foreclosed property shall be in its current assessed value. And that's being changed to the targeted minimum sale price of tax foreclosure property shall be in its current assessed value, and then we've added this sentence. The board, by a 4/5 vote, may sell it for less than its assessed value if deemed to be in the town's interest at that time. And it's up for second reading. Any further
Question?
comments, questions? Yes, sir.
What do we mean by the word targeted here? Excuse me.
Meaning that's what we'd like to get, I would assume.
That's our goal.
for the-
Our goal is
The
to
goal
get
is to get,
the current policy, which hasn't been implemented yet, just, that establishes the minimum bid that you have to take as the assessed value. So what we're saying here is the targeted minimum is the assessed value. But again, by a 4/5 vote, we can take less.
Mhm.
So, it's always the goal to get at least the assessed value on the property, but at times it's not possible, as evidenced by the amount of town-owned land we still have on the books, because nobody's interested in purchasing it, at the assessed value of those parcels, so.
an example would be in the town's interest would be to take property that just is not good for much of anything, and a butter may want to extend their property and are not willing to pay the assessed value, but at the same time, by selling it for less, we can then begin to collect real estate taxes on it, which we're not doing now.
Well, bear with me on this. If that is correct, using the word targeted as our goal, it doesn't say that in here. Would it be fair enough to say the targeted minimum sale price set by the Board of Selectmen of tax?
You have to understand that this is the Board of Selectmen's policy book that we're amending. So obviously, it's the board's policy that would be redundant.
Okay?
Sean?
Yes.
One thing I have is, it seems to me that this 7.2.2 only applies to the sale of tax foreclosed property. do we not also want to make a change to the general provisions concerning, where it reads, "The land shall be sold for no less than the current fair market value as determined by professional appraisal"? That comes under 7.2.1 General Provisions A. I think we'd want to make a change to that particular provision as well, paralleling the change that I anticipate we're going to make to 7.2.2. Is everyone with me? Why would we make a difference between tax foreclosed property and other property that's owned by the town?
I don't recall, in all the years I've been sitting here, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, if we've ever had to go out and get an appraisal on a piece of property in order to sell it. I think most of the property that we own is through tax title, other than what we've acquired through town meeting.
Yeah, I can't remember
You
either.
know, other than what we've acquired through town meeting. So if we were gonna dispose of some parcel that was acquired through purchase by a vote of town meeting, that's what would apply. Those are generally large parcels that were purchased for specific reasons, or for open space, or for...
Yeah, for example, you're talking about like, if we were to sell a piece of the Eisenhower property
Or
or
the
the
Smith
Smith property, we
Right.
own the property.
What we'd wanna do is just parcel it out, get an appraisal, appraised value, and sell for market, fair market value, unless there's some other compelling reason why. And then we could, by majority vote of this board, waive policy and sell it for less. So I mean, we could waive policy now, on any of this.
I think we'd want to be consistent on both.
That would
That's for another
require
meeting.
that we add that sentence to where, Sean?
We would want to take the change on the language on
The fourth
D
bit.
and put it under Section A of 7.2.1, second sentence that begins with "The land shall be sold for no less than current fair market value."
Right.
Just insert it there, delete that and insert the new language in that particular section of that provision.
That would be for another,
I just want to raise it, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and you can probably fill us in on this, Sean, and better than anybody, I think that would raise the question, though, then this would have to be the first reading and not the second.
Yeah,
Because the first reading-
We could do that.
well, no, what you do is we would, attack this, Section A under 7.21 general provisions.
As a
As
first
a
reading,
new first reading next time.
and then do a
Right.
second reading.
So that would be for another meeting to,
Yeah.
we're gonna propose that.
I have no problem with what Mr. Delaney's proposing. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
So we'd put the same language in,
Yeah, and just
Section-
substitute assessed value, substitute fair market value as deemed by the appraiser.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could set that up for the next meeting for a first reading. That's the wishes of the majority. I don't have a problem with it.
Greg, you get that?
We'll get it to the next time.
Okay. Fine. So we hold off on this one? Next item? Wow, I haven't been paying attention. All of a sudden, the room is full. Narissa, who's speaking for Narissa this evening? Okay. Yeah. For the record,
Should we-
name and address?
Mr. Chairman, before we move forward to the next agenda item, should we not move forward with the motion on the second reading of this particular change in that policy? There's no issue with that particular change.
Right.
What we're going to do next meeting is move forward with the additional
Okay,
change.
sure, we can do that. All right. And then we start with another clean amendment.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Okay,
Jeffrey, would you read that motion?
I will.
Excuses,
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the second reading of amended policy 7.2, sale of town-owned land. Second.
Motion by Mr. Yule, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Okay.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Floor is mine, at long last. Kathy Gardino, 16 Ridgeway Road. I am one of the founding members of NERISA, North Reading Youth Service